Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with NFL Week 3. Got a great game here. Baltimore in Dallas. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, we got the Ravens on the road in Dallas for this one. Cowboys are short home dogs here, catching a point or a point and a half, depending on your sports book. Total seems to be consensus 47.5 across the board in this one. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pie charts. And according to this data that I don't trust, public is leaning towards Baltimore with the sharp action on Dallas. Again, as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's look into this matchup, which has been owned by Baltimore, by the way. Since 2000, the Cowboys are just 1-5 against the Ravens, 2-4 against the number. So Dallas has not played well against Baltimore since 2000, but who cares about what happened between the Cowboys and the Ravens in 2006? That's pretty irrelevant if you ask me. What we need to talk about is how these two teams match up right now. Baltimore's offense so far, definitely not off to the greatest start. I mean, a little bit of a step down in production from last season. It's only been 2 games, and they did lose a ton of production on the offensive line. But points per game, they were 4th in the NFL last year, just 14th this year. I mean, again, it's been 2 games, so looking at these numbers, not sure how much to take away from them. One thing I do think is notable, though, the lack of push from the Baltimore offensive line in the run game. 22nd in adjusted line yards, 23rd in run blocking grade. And the reason I think that's notable is I just mentioned they lost a ton of production on the offensive line. Entering this season, the offensive line was a big question mark for Baltimore, and they're not generating the same type of push in the run game that we're used to seeing from Baltimore. And also, Lamar Jackson's passing production is down. Yards per attempt, completion percentage, big time throw rate, passer rating in 2023, 4th, 8th, 14th, 4th. This year, again, it's only been 2 games. Let's not panic, but there's definitely a drop-off here. 20th, 22nd, 24th, and 19th. If you want to see the actual numbers instead of the rankings, yards per pass attempt went from 8 to 6.9. Big time throw percentage, 4.9% to 1.2%. We've seen a lack of big plays through the air from Lamar Jackson so far this season. On passes that travel 20 or more yards in the air, just 1 of 8, 38 yards. Now, last week, the Saints put up a big number against the Cowboys. Didn't really do it on the big plays. Derek Carr only attempted 2 passes of 20-plus air yards the entire game. He was 2 for 2 with 109 yards and a touchdown. So when he did try it, he was successful. He just didn't take many deep shots. So is this the time we're going to see Lamar Jackson make some big plays through the air? Now, keep in mind, this is not a Dan Quinn coached Cowboys defense anymore. Mike Zimmer is running the defense. Last year with Dan Quinn, the Cowboys led the NFL in man coverage frequency. 63% of their snaps in coverage were in man, most in the NFL. This year, it's the complete opposite. 83.3% of their defensive snaps have been in zone coverage. That's second most in the NFL. The reason that's significant, want to know who one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL was throwing the ball against zone coverage? Lamar Jackson. 3rd in yards per pass attempt, 5th in EPA, 6th in turnover-worthy play rate. And this Cowboys pass rush, I mean, we know talent-wise this is one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, but they're very inconsistent, and we've seen it already so far this season. Usually, they're an elite pass rush for the first half of the season, and then they disappear in the second half. We've already seen it after 2 weeks. In Week 1, they generated pressure on 45.5% of dropbacks. That was 6th most in the NFL that week. Last week, just 29.4% of dropbacks, 7th lowest in the NFL this week. So we've already seen the inconsistencies from the Cowboys pass rush, night and day difference between Week 1 and Week 2. And even if Dallas is able to generate pressure in this game, you want to know who led the NFL in yards per pass attempt when pressured last year? Lamar Jackson. He was excellent at handling pressure. First, 8.3 yards per pass attempt at 93.4 passer rating. Now, keep in mind, that's a big if on whether or not this Cowboys pass rush is going to show up, because it's not just, hey, we saw them disappear in Week 2. We've also seen this Baltimore offensive line do a pretty solid job in pass protection so far this year. 4th in pass block win rate, 9th in pass block grade, 8th in pressure allowed, 2nd in adjusted sack rate. We just talked about how this offensive line is struggling to generate push in the run game, but they've actually done a solid job in pass protection. So I don't know if the Cowboys pass rush rush is going to be there in this game or not, but if it is, it's Lamar Jackson. He's excellent against pressure. Now, what about the Ravens' run game, though? Are they going to be able to run the ball on the Cowboys? It's tough to say. Like I said, I mean, you already saw these numbers. Ravens' offensive line, not the best metrics in terms of creating space in the run game, but their rushing numbers look pretty good. Third in rushing DVOA, third in EPA per rush, fourth in success rate. But the thing is, if you watched the Chiefs game, that opener on Thursday Night Football, it was pretty much all Lamar Jackson making plays. It wasn't that the Ravens had a consistent rushing attack between the tackles. It was basically Lamar Jackson being a freak athlete. So even though Baltimore has some nice looking rushing metrics on the season, I wouldn't exactly say that rushing attack looks good. But the thing is, the Saints just ran all over the Cowboys last week. 36 carries, 193 yards, 5.36 yards per carry. And before that, the Browns ran the ball all over the Cowboys, 4.9 yards per carry. The Browns missing both offensive tackles in the game. So this Cowboys run defense might not be very good. They're certainly looking like one of the worst run defenses in the NFL so far this season. 32nd, dead last in EPA per rush, 30th in success rate, 31st in run defense DVOA. Now, it's only been 2 games. You don't want to overreact. You can look at these numbers and be like, oh, the Cowboys have the worst run defense in the NFL. We know that's not true. We know that they're not the worst run defense in the NFL. But definitely, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're worried about the run defense. So overall on this side, I think the Ravens are going to move the football in this game, and that's not me reacting to what we saw last week. Obviously, the Cowboys defense looked terrible last week. I'm not overreacting to that. I think the Cowboys defense will bounce back. I think the Ravens are going to move the football because I like the way they match up. Lamar Jackson, excellent at handling pressure. The Ravens have done a good job in pass protection. That's the backbone of this Cowboys defense is the pass rush. And if that pass rush isn't effective, I like the Ravens to move the football in the game. But now let's flip it over to the other side and look at the Cowboys offense. They did score 33 points in that opener on the road in Cleveland, who led the NFL in points allowed per game at home. So a nice start, right? Well, in that game, they were just 24th in DVOA, 24th in EPA per play, 25th in success rate. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns offense really were scoring a lot of those points for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott certainly not off to the greatest start this season. Now, again, it's only been 2 games, but completion percentage is down. Yards per attempt way down. Passer rating way down. It's only been 2 games, but definitely a little bit concerning considering they just paid him $1 billion. Not the greatest start for Dak Prescott, but we do have to cut him a little bit of slack. Why? They played the Browns and the Saints. Both were top 10 pass defenses last year. Cleveland was first in EPA per dropback, first in success rate. The Saints were 9th and 6th. So, okay, let's cut Dak a little bit of slack here. That's a tough couple of defenses to open your season up against. But here's the thing. They're now seeing Baltimore, who were 2nd and 4th last year in those same 2 metrics. So another top 10 pass defense comes into play against Dak. Now, the good news for Dak Prescott is Baltimore's pass defense hasn't looked the same so far this year. They're actually 26th, 30th, and 19th in these major metrics here against the pass. It's only been 2 games. We know this pass defense is going to be better than that, but they certainly don't look great so far this season. And yeah, we'll cut them some slack for the Mahomes game. It's Patrick Mahomes in Arrowhead on Thursday Night Football on primetime. Cut him some slack for that one. But Gardner Minshew? 30 of 38, 276 yards, 94.7 passer rating. Now, it's not like Minshew pieced him up, but Gardner Minshew was making some plays in that game. So maybe this Baltimore pass defense, not quite what it was last year. Keep in mind, Mike McDonald is gone. He's coaching the Seahawks now. Their defensive genius isn't there anymore coaching the defense. So maybe the Ravens pass defense isn't quite what it was last year. And also, if you look at the final score of that Cowboys-Saints game, yeah, they only scored 19 points. But if you watch that game, the Cowboys were moving the ball. They only punted 1 time in the game. They had over 350 yards of offense. They basically just kept shooting themselves in the foot. It's not like the Saints defense was making stops. By no means was it a great game for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense at all. But if you watched it, your reaction was the Cowboys defense is terrible. If you watched that game, your reaction wasn't, oh, the Cowboys offense is terrible, because they were moving the ball. Dak Prescott made some mistakes. It wasn't a terrible offensive performance. And keep in mind, this is the Cowboys in Dallas here. Before last week, Dak Prescott had won 14 consecutive home games, and in those 14 games, they averaged over 37 points per game. So we're really going to see one lackluster performance from Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense at home and just forget about these 14 games, forget about this streak, 14 straight wins at home, over 37 points per game. I'm sure this offense is going to bounce back. And like I said, Ravens defense doesn't exactly look the same. Now here's where it gets concerning for the Cowboys offense, and I bet you know what we're going to talk about next, the run game, or the lack of run game. So far on the season, 23 carries a game, 85 rushing yards per game, just 3.7 yards per carry. If you isolate it to just the running backs, 26th in the league in yards per carry, 23rd in success rate. The run game has not been there for Dallas at all. And this Ravens defense last year, they were weak against the run. They were elite against the pass. This year, they're looking a little shaky against the pass. Their run defense has been lights out. They're allowing under 50 rushing yards per game, 2.68 yards per carry. Now, that could be because they play the Raiders, and the Raiders don't run the ball at all. I'm sure, like I said, it's only been 2 weeks. We can't overreact to these numbers, but no question, the Ravens look pretty strong against the run. They're currently sitting at first in the NFL in run defense success rate. So no, I don't expect the Cowboys to be able to run the ball in this game, but like I said earlier, I do not expect Dak Prescott to have back-to-back bad games at home. So I still like the Cowboys to be able to move the football in this game, and like I said earlier, I like Lamar Jackson to be able to move the football in this game too. So where does that leave us? The over. I already bet it. Over 47.5. If you put a gun to my head and force me to pick a side, I guess I would take the Ravens. You can get a money line at -112. I guess I would lean Baltimore. I don't know. It feels like a coin flip. Should be an awesome football game. Just give me my over and let me watch. If you want to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on Open Bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone on the staff here. Also, if you sign up for Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 on one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So head over to the website and sign up if you're interested. Live shows, Saturday morning college football, 10 a.m. up to kickoff. Sunday NFL live stream, 11 a.m. up to kickoff. If you're able to make it, would love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a nice NFL Week 3 here. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.